DAZN is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win! Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Ariel and Ade right here on the undisputed global home of boxing, DAZN. That is DAZN. I'm Ariel Helwani right here in our New York City studio at our uncrowned headquarters. And of course, I don't just fly solo on this program. I am joined, as always, by the face of all things DAZN boxing, the one and only Ade Oladipo, who I am surprised is not stateside either for the highly anticipated George Kambosos versus Richardson Hitchens fight going down right here in New York City, or perhaps more importantly, the kickoff of the Club World Cup, which goes down this weekend. Why aren't you here? I thought you were coming over.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I am. I'm on like the first plane to Miami in the morning.
Oh, Miami,
so I'm ready.
are you?
So,
okay.
Yes, Miami.
Use me for living.
I'm going to Miami.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you kind of incorrectly got my title wrong. You said all things the face of boxing.
Oh, you're right. My bad.
Soon to be.
My bad.
All things the face of everything.
I love it.
Because I'm doing the football.
Now,
so
what is the HQ for this in Miami?
No, it goes all over. So the first game is in Miami. We go to Charlotte. We go to Atlanta. We go to New York. I mean, they want to give sort of a taste of football to everyone. So we go all over.
And you're traveling.
I don't. So I do the first game in Miami.
Yeah.
Then we come back to a studio in London. And then I come back out there for the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals.
Well, perhaps you could stop by when you're in town. Would be nice to see your face.
No, it'd be nice to see you too, Ariel.
Well,
and I shall definitely stop by.
I'm looking forward to it. I think that Corinthians is going to win it all. I'm really backing them. What? What?
I don't know where you got the odds from, or where you just feel like you're trying to be a bit hipster with your knowledge.
Yeah.
But
No?
they ain't winning it.
You don't like
they
it?
Ain't winning it. No. They ain't winning it. They ain't winning it. I mean, you got Real Madrid coming over.
Sure.
You got the European champions, Paris Saint-Germain,
Yeah.
coming over. You got Man City.
Yeah.
Come on, stop
And
it,
all the
stop
top
it,
stars
stop
are
it.
playing.
All the big boys are playing.
Wow.
All the big boys are playing. I have a feeling that, they might just use the full squad. So a few of the big boys might get rested. But when it comes to the knockout stages, expect to see Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Haaland,
Well, I'm
Messi,
excited.
everyone. It's going to be good.
I think this will be cool. Yes, DAZN, the home of the Club World Cup, one of the many exciting things happening right here on the undisputed global home of all things sports. Big weekend coming up, very busy weekend has come and gone. Gosh, I can't wait to get into Fabio Wardley versus Justice Huni. Right now, probably the leader for the comeback of the year, I would say. I mean, Fabio was losing 9.5 rounds, and then there comes the 10th, and he shocks everyone, including Justice, and knocks him out. Wins via TKO at Portman Road. What a scene that was. We have to talk about the mare of a weekend that the Davis brothers had over in Virginia. Just an absolute nightmare for these young men. We'll get into that. We'll get into Nakatani. Much to get into, but let's start with some breaking news, Mr. Ariel Oladipo. This morning, right here in the United States, we woke up to the news that, yes, finally, Canelo Crawford is official, not for the 12th of September, but for the 13th of September. It is happening in Las Vegas, a venue yet to be officially announced. The reason for that is it was originally supposed to be 12th of September at Allegiant Stadium. They moved it to the 13th, I heard, because Canelo wanted to fight on that Saturday night, because that Saturday night is typically when he fights, when it's Mexican Independence Day weekend. And there's a UNLV football game going down at Allegiant Stadium, so they're figuring out how they can move that, if they can move that. And so for now, location TBD, but city, Las Vegas, and promoter Zuffa Boxing? Is it in fact Zuffa Boxing? Because if you go to UFC.com, Ade, you will see the splash page says Zuffa Boxing. And I don't think a lot of people picked up on this, but if you'll recall, way back when Mayweather-McGregor was a thing, Dana White rocking the Zuffa Boxing shirt, that never really amounted to anything. In fact, Zuffa doesn't even exist anymore. Zuffa is not a thing. Once they sold the company to Endeavor, Zuffa went away. It went with the Fertitta brothers. So is this potentially what they're going to call this new promotion? We shall see. No one has asked that question. The brass hasn't really discussed it just yet, but we do know the date. We do know the city. We don't know the location, and we know it's airing on Netflix. Your reaction to this news, of course, for the undisputed super middleweight belts and the Ring super middleweight title.
Sorry, very quickly. Just confirm something with me from your opening piece there. Are you trying to say that they are, at the moment, thinking about moving a football game away from the stadium to have the boxing event there?
Well, it's a UNLV game. You know, it's
What's
a big
that?
deal.
What does that mean for us Brits?
So UNLV is the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It's a NCAA team, not the biggest of college football teams, but they have the date. They're playing there now. You know, I would suspect there's nothing money can't buy, and so we'll see how it all plans. But like they want it at Allegiant Stadium. Now, could this be at T-Mobile? 1,000%. But I think they want the spectacle, they want the scene, and worth noting. You know, there were a lot of stops and starts. Obviously, we knew that these two were going to fight in September. We saw the face-off. You were there in Riyadh, Skull, and Canelo. But then there was the talk of like, hey, is it just going to be a Riyadh season or Sella event? And hey, is it going to be on pay-per-view and not on a streaming platform? And Dana White, you know, addressed some of this weekend, saying, no, we're all good. And once the UFC changed their Noche UFC card, which was scheduled for September 13th, from a pay-per-view to a fight night, and moved it from Mexico to San Antonio, it seemed like whatever was the issue going on there like 2-3 weeks ago, the path was cleared for this announcement, which we got today.
Yeah, bridges have been mended and have been fixed over the last few weeks, because there certainly were issues that I guess won't come to the light, but there certainly were issues a couple of weeks ago. At least it felt like that was the case anyway. Look, I'm excited. It's a huge fight. I think Turkey has said it's the fight of the century, a fight of the decade. It's definitely in that conversation. And I can't wait for it to happen. I hope it happens in a stadium. I mean, me and you've worked together on big stadium fights over here, and nothing beats a massive stadium fight. I love arenas, right? Arenas sell out. The noise stays within an arena. But if you can get 90,000 or whatever the Allegiant Stadium holds, if you can get 60, 70,000 in there of ferocious Mexican fans and boxing fans all together, all sort of picking who they want to win. I think it sounds fantastic. Obviously, a couple of things that came out of this announcement. Netflix was a big one. Obviously, look, Crawford's last fight was on DAZN. Canelo's last fight was on DAZN. DAZN must have made a play for it. Obviously, they assumed that Netflix would get it, but they must have made a play for it. So DAZN aren't going to be too happy about it being on Netflix. Maybe there is just, okay, look what Jake Paul and Mike Tyson did in terms of numbers. That's Mike Tyson. I still think it will do great numbers, but if you're trying to compare it to that, then I don't think, for me, that's apple and oranges. But look, I'm excited for it. I think it's an incredible matchup. I think it almost determines, some will say, the fighter of this generation, although there is a guy out there called Alexander Usyk. But it's an incredible fight between two incredible boxers, and I think this is going to do fantastic numbers. So yeah, as a boxing fan, over the moon that it looks like this has now finally been confirmed, because I think there were rocky waters a few weeks ago.
Well, I will say that when, we've been hearing about this fight sort of being in the works for almost about a year now. I feel like once Crawford beat Madrimov, it sort of opened the door for this being a possibility. When it was first being talked about, I'll be honest with you, I was like, man, I don't know. Crawford historically... Why? No, meaning his chances. And my point is, I've turned the corner. Like, I'm actually backing Crawford in this one. I think to me, Crawford is the favorite. I don't know what the odds are, and I doubt he is the favorite, considering it's 168 versus a 154-pounder, historically a 147-pounder. But considering how Canelo has looked as of late, and maybe this is the test, maybe this is the thing that he has been missing to like give him a little bit of an oomph, I think Crawford could beat him. I think Crawford could beat him.
Yeah. And I don't say this like I think Crawford can beat him. I think Crawford will beat him. Like I don't expect to wake up September the 14th and be surprised if Crawford's the new undisputed super middleweight champion. Crawford's never been beaten. Unbeaten fighters have this thing where they don't think they can lose. Crawford's never really come close to losing. I mean, the one time he come close to losing was against Sean Porter. And like he found out he was down. He's like, what, I'm down? And then he seemed to go through the gears very quickly. He's fresh. He's a young, 37, 38? He's a young 37, 38. There's hardly any damage. There's no wear and tear. There's no big injuries that I can think of when it comes to Terence Crawford. And if you're going off his last performance against Madrimov, yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but almost a bit like what you said about Canelo. I think he'll turn it up when the real threat's in front of him. Whereas Canelo, as good as he is, I mean, you're talking an all-time great, right? Still, as you say, the undisputed champion, I can see slippage. I can see quite a bit of slippage. So I feel like Crawford's getting Canelo at the perfect time. If this fight happens, as you say, a year ago, I'm like, oh, I'm with you. No chance, Crawford. Now, I feel like Canelo slipped enough to the point where I think this is a very competitive fight that I think Terence Crawford will win.
How do you feel about Dana White being involved? Do you think this will work?
I'm not a fan.
Why?
I'm not a fan. Well, look, I know Dana White is a boxing guy. He likes to always say he's a boxing guy, but ultimately he's a UFC guy, an MMA guy. And I feel like this
does that matter? Who cares if he's a UFC guy, not a UFC guy?
I think I want the best promoter for the job. Mm-hmm. And I think the best boxing promoter right now, and I don't say this because I know some people are going to say, you work for Matchroom, and that's why. I think the best promoter is Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn's the best boxing promoter. And I think Turkey's wanting best in class for this event. He's going to probably have the best in class presenter, the best in class ring announcer, get the best in class promoter. And I think the best in class promoter is Eddie. I think we've seen that over the last 5 years. I mean, there was a time where you could have said Bob. There's a time where you maybe, 20 years ago, Don Kings. But right now, I think Eddie's proved that he's number one. So I think you get the number one boxing promoter, who, by the way, has promoted both of these guys' fights. He's done about 7 or 8 Canelo fights. I think he's done a couple of Crawford fights. So he knows them both well. He's promoted them both well. Get Eddie to do it.
All right. Well, what a perfect segue that is, because wouldn't you know it, the aforementioned Eddie Hearn is joining us right here now. So let's ask him. Eddie, I think you were listening to some of that, probably with a bit of a smile on your face.
I know. I was like, blimey. I was thinking, go on, Eddie.
Yeah. Should you be the promoter of this? Would you have liked to have been the promoter of this fight?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, it's a fantastic fight. But I don't think... But the reality is the promoter of this fight is Turki Al-Sheikh. It doesn't matter when whenever there's a Riyadh season event or a Ring magazine event, all the decisions are made from His Excellency. I've been involved, and you actually don't really get much of an opportunity to make any decisions because he makes them all for you. Everything down to the design of the promo, to the on-sale ticket dates, to the venue deal. I mean, they're financially bankrolling the event, so they're going to be making all the decisions. I think it's a good look to have Dana doing it. I mean, you're not really, you're a guest promoter, and that's really what a lot of us are when we do Riyadh season or Ring magazine events. So, should I be doing it? No, not really. I mean, look, I think Dana's got a much bigger profile than me in America, so I get the move. I wouldn't be able to do it anyway because I'm exclusive to DAZN, and obviously the fight's on Netflix. But no, I think it's a pretty cool move, really. I think it's good for boxing. I think, as I said to you before, Dana's making a move into boxing for a reason, right? And it's a dangerous move for his business and for the UFC business because really it could be taking a lot of the focus off. I mean, if you're really promoting this fight, it's a 24/7 job for 3 months. That's how I would be promoting this fight. Different cities every day. So it's difficult to be across the UFC business as well. So, but he's here for a reason. Boxing's red hot. I've said to you before, boxing, I think, what did I say? MMA was like a poor relative of boxing at the moment. That might have been a little bit harsh watching it back.
No,
but
it was good stuff.
we have to admit boxing's red hot at the moment. And this is a big fight. One of the biggest, certainly in America, for some time.
I know you're probably privy to a lot more than us here sitting at this desk, but what did you make of all the talk over the past month or so, Eddie? Because it did seem like there was an announcement that was coming, then it didn't come, and then the tweet about Sella promoting and not the UFC, and then the UFC changed their show from a pay-per-view to a fight night. Like, something seemed different from the original announcement. Could you tell us what you were hearing about the state of this relationship? Because as you know, the talk was like, oh, this thing isn't going to get off the ground.
Yeah, I think, I don't know really what happened. But one thing I'll tell you is His Excellency will do what he wants to do with the vision that he has without really taking much notice of the advice or the other people that are working on the shows. I've been around him for 2 years. So, he's going to be calling the shots and you either fall in line or you don't. And if you don't fall in line, you don't do the job and you don't work for him. I've said before that I don't agree with everything that His Excellency does, but he's got incredible vision, a huge bankroll and a big appetite for the sport. We don't agree on everything. And sometimes, we don't do a fight, but a lot of the times we do. And I guess this was just maybe one party wanted to do it one way and one party wanted to do it another way. And in time, they fell in line.
Eddie, you said boxing's growth in the last few years has been good. Obviously, Dana White now is part of that. Netflix is now part of that. Obviously, boxing's changed a lot in the last decade or so. DAZN coming on board. What do you make of Netflix now clearly showing that they are involved in the sport of boxing?
Again, Eddie, just, a great example of how powerful the sport is right now. You've got Dana White trying to get into the sport, TKO trying to get into the sport, Netflix trying to get into the space as well. And it can only be fantastic for all of us. I mean, we've seen the growth in interest, digital numbers, viewership, tickets since the explosion of Riyadh season and this big investment of the best fights getting made. I mean, you were there Saturday, Addy. There was like 18,000 at Ipswich on a random Saturday night for Fabio Wardley against Justice Hearn. And the big fights just keep on coming. And I think boxing's in a tremendous place. And the more broadcasters, the better. But particularly a platform like Netflix as well. I think Netflix are going to be looking to do anywhere between 2 and 4 shows a year, probably. and they're going to make a big fuss. You've got Taylor Serrano coming up. You've got Canelo Crawford coming up. But I don't think they're going to be, we can't just rely on that kind of volume of shows. We need the pure, boxing fans platform like a DAZN that's going to consistently feed the audience with quality programming. But every now and again, if the reach of boxing can explode to that kind of level of numbers, that's going to help the whole ecosystem of boxing. It's going to get people more interested in the sport. That could be from a grassroots participation, that could be going to your local show, or that could be going to a big show at the O2 Arena, the Manchester Arena, whatever. So it's brilliant for the sport.
Based off that, could they contractually make a play for AJ Fury? Like, are there too many hoops for them to go through, or could they? Because they're only going to want the biggest and best fights, and I think AJ Fury is the biggest thing.
AJ is exclusive. AJ is exclusive to DAZN. Okay. So one thing that DAZN have shown in the past is the ability, but really it's more of a moral, common sense position of not denying fighters opportunities. That doesn't really apply to AJ because he's very happy on DAZN, and he did a great run of fights on DAZN. But Katie Taylor is a very good example. Katie Taylor has boxed pretty much her whole career in terms of her major fights on DAZN. And we did Taylor Serrano 1 on DAZN. MVP came along, gave us a fantastic offer to fight Taylor Serrano 2 on Netflix. I went to Ed McCarthy at DAZN, and I said, look, I know that Katie Taylor's a DAZN fighter, but Ed, in my opinion, this is a fantastic offer. And I don't think we should be denying a fighter an opportunity like this. And he said, okay, if that's what you think, we support Katie Taylor. That's very unusual for a broadcaster to do so. And again, the third fight comes around, they're paying her more than double what she got last time, and she's on there again, So, of course, the plan for DAZN is to keep all the big fights on their platform, and that includes Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua will return. I had a lengthy conversation with his team today. He's now back in the groove of starting to think about locking in a date in 2025. So October, November, December, that will be AJ's next fight. And, we look forward to a big end to the year. And look, we don't even know if the Fury fight's going to materialise. What we do know is that's the biggest fight in boxing. Forget Canelo Crawford. AJ Fury is the biggest fight in boxing, unquestionably. And he's in a good place. Had the surgery and motivated to return to camp.
Wanted to ask you one other question about Canelo Crawford, but since you've dropped this interesting nugget on us, could I ask, is there a front runner? I know you said recently you were thinking of Dillian White. He's now booked against Moses Itama. Is there a front runner?
Yeah, Dillian White was probably the front runner, to be honest with you. Now it looks like he's going to fight Moses, so that was a curveball. Jared Anderson's been mentioned. Obviously, Deontay Wilder's back soon. I think AJ would have been out of the ring just over a year by the time he steps back into the ring. He will be coming off surgery. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think Fury's going to be ready to fight around that time anyway, but I expect it to be someone that will gear him up for a really big fight in 2026. And probably 2026 will be his last year in the sport. I mean, you never know.
Wow.
But I think, you're thinking about it, Ariel, it's probably 3 fights away. And I think, for me, if I'm advising AJ, I like, we're back this year. We have 2 Tyson Fury fights. What else is there to do? Maybe fight a Daniel Dubois. But, I think that for me, once AJ fights Tyson Fury, he's kind of done it all. I'd love him to have another crack at Dubois. And I'd love him to have another crack at Usyk, but you just go on and on and on. Now, if we get to next year and he's still firing on all cylinders, then 2026 won't be his last year. But for me, something feels right about coming back this year, beating Tyson Fury twice, and then sailing off into the sunset, But who knows?
It would appear as though the next best thing, if Wilder wins on June 27th, would be that one. It's not quite the the super fight, but it has been one that we've been talking about for so long. Don't tell Dave Allen this. I know he's been campaigning for it as well, but AJ versus Wilder is a big one.
Yeah, AJ Wilder's a massive fight as well. And I think because of the loss to Dubois, it makes the fight more palatable, especially if Wilder can come back with a good win. Dave Allen. Yeah, Dave Allen's funny.
Love this guy.
Dave Allen's. Honestly, he's becoming a real fan favourite. I mean, I said the other day, like, we're going to probably headline him in September, October in Sheffield. I think he'll sell the whole thing out. Honestly, there's like a massive love for this guy. And he's always been very good. But the lack of discipline and everything, like motivation and focus, and now he's kind of got it all going. And he's been through those guys, you know, like Luis Ortiz, Dillian White, David Price. Like, he's fought a lot of these top guys, and now he's kind of learned how to deal with heavyweights, and he's actually a threat, Dave Allen. You know, he's got a tremendous chin and he punches very hard, and if you do that in the division, you're always going to be a threat. So yeah, who knows? We could see the White Rhino against Deontay Wilder, but he's definitely in the hat for AJ as well.
I do want to ask about the fight this weekend. I'm fascinated by George Kambosos. I mean, this guy's story is incredible. The record book say that he can, on his day, beat a lot of good people. But final one, I want to quickly circle back. Final one on Canelo Crawford. Do you see that as competitive? I mean, when it was first announced, who was you picking as favorite? Who have you got now?
Yeah, I mean...
Don't sit on the fence. Let's hear the pick. You're not tied to any of them. You could
be. I'm very close to Canelo. He messaged me the other day because he didn't like something that I said. And I was talking to him about, but I'm always like, I don't want to upset anyone, and that's never really been my style. So what I said was, when I was watching the William Skull fight live in the arena, I was thinking to myself, I actually wouldn't be that surprised if Canelo didn't fight again. I didn't think he looked motivated. We didn't have an argument, but he just said, I thought, what was it? I said, no, I was just being honest. Like, you didn't look motivated to me. Now, that's probably because it was William Skull and he was running around the ring, doing anything he could not to engage in a fight. That night made me really think about who is going to win this fight. Because, the thing is with Crawford, right? When you spend time around him, he is so confident. So confident. Like, he has no doubt in his mind that he's going to win this fight. And anyone that has movement is going to cause Canelo problems at this stage in his career. And first, when the fight was made, I thought that Canelo Alvarez would be a huge favourite in this fight because of the size. But I really see it as a 50-50 fight. Like, I honestly probably favouring Crawford.
Wow.
Because of what I saw.
Oh, you're going to get another Canelo text.
Yeah, no. But I want Canelo to win. Just want to put that out there as well. But I see it like, I'm talking like 55-45, but I would always pick Canelo, but I just being, leaving Times Square, I got on the plane with Crawford and we flew to I've spent a lot of time with him over the years, and he's a massive believer in himself, massive. And he's got a tremendous boxing IQ and he knows boxing inside out. And he's so convinced he wins this fight. And Canelo's got to switch up everything he's been doing in the last few fights. Like, a William Skull performance will not beat Terence Crawford. I don't think an Edgar Berlanga performance will beat Terence Crawford. I don't think a Jaime Munguia performance or a Charlo performance will beat Terence Crawford. So Canelo is going to have to produce a quality performance to beat him. And can he do that at this stage in his career? I do think that this is the kind of fight that's going to motivate Canelo, who's a true great, whose work ethic is second to none, to beat or to put in a great performance. Will it be enough? just got a sneaky feeling for Terence Crawford.
Ooh.
Wow.
Man, imagine Terence becoming a 3-time undisputed freeweight
incredible.
champion.
You know what
That's
I
crazy.
said to
That's
I
crazy.
said to Crawford on the plane, I said, you know what your problem is? We were half bantering, half. I said, you've never really beaten anyone in their real true prime. I said, who is your best win? What would you say is the best win of your career? And he said, Ricky Burns.
Wow.
Right? Now, Ricky Burns was my fighter.
Good
That was
shout.
a great win at the time. But with all due respect to Ricky, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's not, going to go down as he'll go down as an all-time great of Scottish boxing. But I said, and it's not your fault. I think you're so good and talented, but you've never actually been able to, like when you beat Errol Spence, even he kind of acknowledged that it wasn't a prime Errol Spence. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Gamboa, like all these guys, Sean Porter even, like that. None of those guys were in their true prime when he fought them. And there is an argument that Canelo's not in his true prime, but this is for me the fight that does cement Crawford as a generational great. I really, and I think he's so talented. I do. Can he deal with the size? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, Canelo's not a big 168-pounder. All right, let's talk about this weekend. Richardson Hitchens versus George Kambosos, IBF super lightweight title on the line. What's it like, Ed, sort of promoting these young, brash Americans compared to the quiet English fighters that you promote? You've got quite a few of them now. You've done quite a few of them.
I really wanted to make this fight because for two reasons. Number one, I think that Hitchens needs this dance partner, right? Like he stylistically and from a profile and a build-up point of view, it enables Hitchens to talk his shit, as they say, and it enables him to fight an aggressive, talented fighter who has significant victories on his resume. Obviously, the Teofimo Lopez winning the same venue. And it gives Richardson a chance to make a statement in a high-profile fight. Flip it the other way, it gives George Kambosos an opportunity to create history and become a two-division world champion, probably one of Australia's greatest ever fighters, and to do it in the same arena, against all odds, against an American with a lot to say. And I've got to say, do not rule out George Kambosos in this fight. He's one determined. I remember when he fought Teofimo Lopez, I promoted the fight. We won the purse bid. I gave him absolutely no chance. He came in and he gritted his teeth and he dropped Teofimo in the first round. He got dropped later in the fight. He stood and he traded and he went through the trenches. Honestly, this guy's made a lot of money over the last few years. This fight, I know, because he's a challenger in the fight, it's got nothing to do with money. He has got the bit between his teeth to win this fight. And I'll tell you something now, Hitchens has got to be a little bit careful because I see the head-to-head today, and, we've got media tomorrow, we've got the press conference on Thursday. He's yapping away. And I love it, by the way. I think it's great. But this is a kind of fight and the kind of stage where you've really got to control your emotions. And I rate Richardson Hitchens extremely highly. I put him in the same, ilk, if you like, as Devin and Teo and, Shakur's an extreme talent. But all of those guys, he's from the same mold. But this is it. This is the big time. And Kambosos is going to push the buttons all week. And if you come out wild, do you remember? It's exactly the same against Teo. They were at it all week. Teo came out in the first round, stood in the middle of the ring, traded up, bang, got dropped in the first minute of the fight. This can happen. It's going to be a really, really good fight. And also the co-main event as well, Andy Cruz against Mashiro, that IBF title. Everything's up for play now. Keyshawn going off the rails. He's gone. So the lightweight division wide open.
Eddie, we've known each other now for a few years. mates, maybe acquaintances, sometimes.
Yeah, why not?
But you saw me taking the selfie in the bathroom here at the studio. Can I, mate to mate, can I make one request, one favor, if you will?
Sure.
Could we stop fighting Frank fighters? I mean, could we, just for your own heart, could we just
I know.
could we put a stop to this? I mean, it's hard for me to watch you go through this every week. Could
Honestly,
we stop? What's
Saturday, I can't even, I can't say I wasn't gutted, but I was so, like, the drama of Saturday was so incredible. It just left me gobsmacked. And just when you think you've seen it all, yeah. Like, when I say this fight was one-sided, I mean, I can't even go into the conversations I was having with Frank Warren, but no one on that row gave Fabio Wardley 1% chance of winning that fight. Not from round 10, from about round 6, right? And I'm sitting there, smug as you like, I'm joking to Frank Warren. I'm actually saying, God, I actually did think at one stage he was taking that much of a battering. Ben Davison, they might pull him out. And I was saying to Frank, "Hey, you want to pull your boy out here? I mean, it's so one-sided." And it was like when you've seen so much and you've been through so much emotions in the sport, when something like that happens, you're just like this. Oh my God. And I'm just like, and as you can imagine, 50 people are jumping all over me, pointing at me, screaming at me, "Have that, Hearn! Shut your mouth, Hearn!" Yeah. And I'm just, and at that point, you've just got to soak it up. And I'm just going, wow. And I like Fabio a lot. We worked with him for a large part of his career. And I just, Justice Honey, 4 weeks notice. I just thought, I can't believe it was so easy. And it just shows you in boxing, particularly in the heavyweight division, you switch off, you lose focus for one second and it's all over. But I actually drove home just going, wow, I can't. And I remember laying down to go to sleep and my head was on the pillow and all I could just see was that shot again and again and again. And, but I got to say, it's why I love boxing.
Yeah. So,
I'm going to keep going, Ariel, in answer to your question.
Yeah. What's the record, by the way? Do you know?
It's probably it's something like 9-2.
Okay.
Or 9-3 or something like that. It's very wide. Very wide.
But
honestly, aren't we getting great fights, by the way? Aren't we getting great fights? I mean, we got another great one coming up. Anto Kakachi against Ray Ford.
Ooh,
incredible fight. And I fancy my boy there. But Anto's on a great run, August 16. So we'll keep going. We're not giving up. But we're very excited. We got over the next 1 to 3 years, you're going to see a phenomenal conveyor belt of talent coming out of Matchroom. Even on the card this Saturday at Madison Square Garden, Adam Maka, 18-year-old world amateur champion, turns pro. Tera Moana, our big Australian heavyweight, 7 wins, 7 knockouts. Nishant Dev, who's going to change the face of boxing in India. Zayquin Moses, Shakur's cousin, who's 18 as well. We've got some phenomenal talent, and we'll get him. Don't worry, Ariel. We'll get him. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that mentality. It wasn't all bad news this weekend. Following day, you did have Jai Opetaia with the big win once again, and it does feel like we are seeing a guy in his prime at the top of his game fighting talent that is maybe not quite on his level. What do we need to do to get that Zurdo Ramirez fight? I know he's fighting June 28th on the same card as Jake versus Julio. That's the one, right? It has to be that one.
Yeah, for sure. It's, Badu Jack's the other champion, but I think there's going to be a rematch ordered by the WBC. But we really need His Excellency to pull up for that fight in Riyadh season. And he's given Jai some tremendous opportunities, but to lead to this. So I think you're going to see Jai Opetaia against Zurdo Ramirez, hopefully October, November time in Riyadh. It's a tremendous fight. Pound for pound, one of the best fights in the sport. And, of course, the best fight in the division. But yeah, they don't talk about the wins. Jai won. Beatrice Ferreira won. We placed her on the MVP show at the weekend, which was great as well. So yeah, we won 2, we lost 1, but of course the 1 was pretty painful. But for Jai, it has to be a unification next. I think this man's going to do big damage at heavyweight. I really do. Like, I think his timing to come up to the heavyweight division is going to be absolutely perfect. And I think he's getting better and better. I really do.
Ade?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna go. No, I thought you were gonna go. Very quickly. I know. Sorry, I know we got a wrap very quickly. Most of the time, Dillian White. Again, it's not been confirmed. We briefly spoke about it. I almost feel like this is a big turn for Dillian White because he's now almost being fed to the sharks. He's never had this kind of process, right? He's normally the guy that's the favorite going into fights. All of a sudden, he's now taking on the upstart in Moses Atalma. A step too far for Moses or a step too late for Dillian?
No, perfect matchmaking for Moses. I mean, Dillian's a tough man. He's been so inactive over the last, 3 years? Comes in with no form or no activity. It's obviously a huge financial opportunity for him. And I think, he won't be going into the fight just saying, well, it's my last payday, but it might be, and I think he'll be going into the fight trying to win because he's a good fighter and he's a proud man. But it's just like you couldn't really get a worse style to come in when you've been out for so long. Like, some really fast young kid who has absolutely no fear. I mean, listen, if Dillian can take him 5, 6, 7 rounds, I think he could be a problem. But he's just going to get pinged by everything early doors. And yeah, it's a hard night's work. I would have liked to have seen Dillian have a little fight, if I'm honest with you, because I think it'll be hard to do himself justice coming back after that long against someone like Moses. But listen, one thing's for sure, and I've said this before, Moses has never fought anyone really near world class. But he's a phenomenal fighter. So it's not a case of he's never fought anyone. No, he's brilliant. But he has never fought anyone remotely world class. So it is a step up, but I think it's great matchmaking.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to this weekend. By the way, you mentioned Adamaka. He's going to come on my show tomorrow. And wouldn't you know it, your old friend Sam Jones texted me, hey, get me on the show. Get me in studio.
Oh, he's such, you know what? He's such
some can of piss, huh?
He's going to me, Eddie, are you in New York? I said, no, I'm not till the later in the afternoon. Oh, could you come on the Ariel show?
What?
I said, I won't be there. I said, he goes, can you go on there with Adam Macca? I said, I won't be able to go on there till later. He went, I suppose I'll have to go on. Like you haven't been touting yourself out, Sam. I know you.
He's like, what do I got to do? Who do I have to pay? No, that. By the way, that's a great move on his part. That was a very slight move.
Sam's he's a manager, but he's a great promoter as well.
He is.
He talks the guys up well, and Adam Macca's a phenomenal talent. I mean, look, Sam Jones doesn't always get it right. He's got a great eye for talent. And he's we work with a lot of young fighters that he's got, but Adam Mack is going to be a very interesting. You'll love watching him fight. He is all action. I mean, there's a real drive at the moment, isn't there, from fight fans particularly, to say we want entertainment. We don't want you giving us boring fights anymore. And trust me, with this kid, you haven't got to worry about that. He's a phenomenal talent and just 18 and making his professional debut at Madison Square Garden.
Love it. Thank you, Eddie. Always a pleasure. Appreciate the time on this Tuesday evening.
Thanks, Ed.
Big show this weekend. Man, much to discuss coming out of that interview. Where to begin?
Wow.
Golly. He's backing Crawford over Canelo, over his boy. At that point, I would just pick. I appreciate the honesty, but you might as well just pick Canelo just for the relationship, right?
Yeah,
that's why I love talking
especially if you're getting 55-45. I mean, it's so close. Just go with the guy that you promoted 7 or 8 times. Because he's going to get a call or text from Canelo. There's no two ways about it. But I think he has a soft spot for Crawford.
Yeah, they have.
Every time I see them, they kind of got this weird relationship. Right. Yeah, I think he likes Crawford.
What did you make of the Dillian White versus Moses Atalma news? I'm excited. This is what we want, right? We want guys taking the big leap. Moses has that potential. He's looked phenomenal. Were you surprised? Did you think this was a little too soon?
No. I don't think it's a big leap.
You don't think it's a big leap? Name value alone, it's a big leap, right?
Yeah, from name value, but I'm very much what have you done for me lately? And look at the images here. I mean, he destroyed Mike Balogun. He absolutely destroyed Dempsey McKean. And if you're Dillian White, I mean, you looked really bad against Ebenezer Tete, who, I mean, Ebenezer Tete is just nothing worth talking about. And before that was Christian Hamer. He's not been active. I think he's had like 2 fights in 4 years. Obviously, we're supposed to fight AJ. That fight didn't happen. He's now 37. So I think, like Eddie, I think it's really good matchmaking. It's a risk, don't get me wrong, but it's a risk worth taking. Not many people know who Moses is outside of the boxing bubble. Everyone knows who Dillian White is over here. So it's almost a bit like that Highlander movie. You chop off the head, you take the power. So I think it's really good matchmaking.
I much prefer Itama versus White than White versus AJ. We didn't have time, but what about Wardley AJ? Could that be a possibility?
Yeah,
or is that not a smart fight for AJ?
Yeah, it's risky. I mean, Wardley is a puncher. They've been in the same camp. They're both kind of supervised, if you like, by Ben Davison.
Right.
So they know each other well. So I don't know if there's a friendship that's been built. But I think seeing what we saw on the weekend, I mean, you could be outboxing Wardley, and a bit like the Deontay Wilder thing, Wardley has just to be good for 1 second. And that 1 second could put your lights out. It's almost the risk reward for AJ isn't there. It's a risky fight, but there's not much reward.
Okay.
It'll be a case of AJ bringing everything to the table and Fabio bringing very little. And I'm like, if I'm AJ, I'm like, why am I doing that?
Okay, so tell me about your perspective on Saturday. You're there, Ipswich, Portman Road. It's the big homecoming. Your sister's there. At least I think you got her tickets. Did you get her tickets in the end? Okay,
I did. I got four in the end. Got
four tickets. Weather not great, but still it seemed like a great scene. Wardley's walkout was phenomenal. Justice ready to go. And you think maybe this is the coronation of Fabio Wardley. This is the big homecoming. And then it's 1 round down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. His body language is awful. His hands are down. He seems tired. He seems deflated. He seems defeated. I mean, Justice is having the fight of his life. Ooh. He's piecing him up. He's landing big shot after big shot after big shot. And then the 10th round happens. What's your reaction?
Dude, a bit like Eddie, I was stunned and gobsmacked. There was a moment right at the end of the first round where Wardley catches Justice right on the bell and Justice's legs buckle, which are not a lot of people sort of saw. But I've watched it back a few times. And I remember watching that thinking, okay, Wardley's going to get him. Like, Justice clearly doesn't have the chin. Wardley's got far too much power. And I'm like, okay, he's going to get him in round 2. Okay, no, he'll get him in round 3, trust me. And I'm talking to people next to me. I'm like, I'm telling you, Wardley's going to get him. It gets to like 7 or 8, and I'm like, okay, Wardley's done. Like, this could get stopped. I was actually thinking, okay, Wardley's going to get stopped in his hometown, in this stadium fight. This dream of his for nearly 3 or 4 years is turning into a nightmare. And he's talking to himself. He can't quite figure out Justice Hooney. The corner are giving him advice. But then I'm thinking, he's only been doing this for 10 years. Like, he picked up a pair of boxing gloves for the first time 10 years ago. No matter what advice you give him, there's no way under this type of intense pressure that he can work things out. It's just impossible. He's fighting someone in Justice that's been doing it since he was 6. Wardley started when he was 20. I'm like, he's been found out. He's got to a level, and congratulations to get to that level, but I was thinking he's been found out. But you have to remember, Wardley's a puncher. He's not a boxer. He's never professed to be a boxer. He's a puncher. And a puncher always has an opportunity until the final bell. And that's what Wardley brings to the ring now. And a Deontay Wilder-like danger. So once you've got that puncher's chance, until the 12th bell goes for the end of the fight, he's always in a fight. And we saw it.
It's heartbreaking for Justice, but in some respects, he does arrive with this performance. It's a moral victory if there ever was one, because he looked so good for those, 9.5 rounds. But it's like almost hard to comprehend. Even us talking about it doesn't give the performance justice. It was 9-0. It was 9-0 going into the 10th. And I believe all but one judge had it scored as such. It was so one-sided, and it was kind of shocking to watch develop in front of your eyes, because Wardley, like I said, he was having this homecoming. It was a big deal for him, and Justice took this fight on short notice. But I did say beforehand, if you recall, this was a better fight, a more interesting fight than the Jarrell Miller fight. And I thought Justice was game. And so it was amazing to see it all unfold. And so if you don't like the AJ idea, where does Wardley go from here? What would you like to see from him?
Rematch.
Straight up.
Run it back.
Yo, if I'm Wardley,
Run it
I'm getting
back.
out of there. I'm
Well-
like thanking the boxing gods that I got out of there, and I'm moving on.
Maybe so, but Wardley, like Hooney's stock's risen because of that performance. And Wardley's stock hasn't diminished, but I'd say it stayed the same. To the point where prior to that fight, I was like, Wardley should really be screaming from the rooftops for the winner of Dubois Usyk, right? He's ranked number 1 with the WBA. Next stop is a world title. But I almost feel like it's kind of paused now. And I think like it's going to pause until you maybe run it back. And then there was the controversy. Was it a fast count? Wasn't it a fast count? I think there's enough in there. Look, ultimately, it's about people watching, bums on seats, who's paying the ticket prices. And I think people would pay to see it again. Because I don't see a path yet for Wardley. I mean, Bacoli maybe,
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
He's asked for Derek Chisora in that 50th fight. So there are fights out there.
Caballel?
Caballel's like Hooney, but better.
Yeah.
But much better. So I'd be a bit concerned about the Caballel one. But again, Wardley does have the forehammer, but I'd be concerned. Anyone that can box is obviously going to cause Wardley some problems. And I don't say that to diminish how good Wardley is. I know Wardley, we speak a lot. I mean, you know what? The best comparison is Jake Paul. Jake Paul probably picked up a pair of gloves 10 years ago. Wardley should really be doing kind of what Jake Paul's doing. So for Wardley to even be where he is incredible. Honestly, it's incredible. So I think they've got to be a bit careful with the matchmaking. That's now 2 really tough fights in 3. The first Fraser Clark fight was brutal. The second one, maybe not so.
Obviously.
This one, brutal. So they've got to be a bit careful. You can't keep taking punishment like that. So I think the next one's got to be, I don't know, a hard fought. Okay, what really is our best avenue to success?
Well, I have to eat a bit of humble pie, Ade, because I've been talking up Keyshawn Davis for the last couple of weeks. I put him on my popcorn list. You did not. I've been saying he's the future face of American boxing. He was enjoying, or at least should have enjoyed, a homecoming back home in Norfolk. He had that first fight a couple of fights ago. It was amazing. He sold it out at the Scope in Virginia. And golly, he's in there against Edwin De Los Santos. And a lot of people are calling him out now. And you've got Abdullah Mason, who's on the stage saying, I want to fight you. And he's kind of brushing him off. And then we get to the weigh-ins, and he misses weight by 4.3 pounds. 4.3 pounds. And then it's like, is De Los Santos going to take the fight? Ultimately, he doesn't. The fight's off. And it's a mess of a situation. I mean, you can't position yourself as the future face of American boxing, as this rising star, talking about a Tank Davis fight and all these other guys miss weight and then not even have the fight when Top Rank has put on this whole show essentially for you. Now, his 2 brothers were also on the card. They call themselves DB3, and then things get even worse. Then one of the brothers, Keon, loses, and then to Nahir Albright, and then we get word that Keyshawn and his younger brother jumped Nahir backstage. Did you see this footage?
I did. I saw everything. Honestly, it's making my blood boil. As you're telling the story and sort of giving us really good sort of accounts of it, sort of hour by hour, it's even making me more angry.
Yeah, and I screwed up.
Although
Kelvin was the one who lost. Keon is the younger brother. But so I just want to get that right. Kelvin lost his first pro fight, but he was supposed to win. He was supposed to beat Albright. It was supposed to be a showcase for him. And then we go to the backstage interview with Mark Kriegel, and Albright is saying that he just got jumped, and then footage emerges of a whole melee, and there's a young kid in a stroller in the middle of all of this. I said it sort of in jest, like a nightmare of a weekend, but it truly was a nightmare of a weekend, to the point where you're like, where does he go from here? He could get back on track. It will be all good. But that was as bad as it gets for someone who, a week ago I was touting as the potential future face of American boxing.
Yeah, dude. I said that, nobody at 135 pounds could beat him. And bear in mind, that's a division that has Shakur. And at the time, it had Vasily Lomachenko, has Gervonta Davis. In fact, I said I don't think anyone at 140 could beat him. That's how high I was on Keyshawn Davis. But the last weekend was an embarrassment. It's not just the fact he missed weight. Fighters have missed weight before. It's that he misses weight and he's not even remorseful. It's like, yeah, I've missed weight, so what? And then he's so arrogant to think that, okay, Edwin De Los Santos is going to just take the fight regardless. We're going to make a deal. And I'm so happy Edwin didn't. Because for me, missing weight and still having a fight is almost cheating. So I'm happy Edwin and his team were like, no, we're not fighting. I've made weight. Why didn't you make weight? And then I see him ringside, sort of stuffing his mouth with popcorn. I've seen an image of him with this massive box of popcorn. I'm like, has he not read the room? And then I find out that I think nearly 1,500 people, I think this is the number, asked for their money back because they obviously came and bought tickets for Keyshawn.
Wow.
So obviously the promoter then has to, find money to give to those people. Then you lose your title. Then you don't get paid. And then your brother and you decide to jump another fighter. Honestly, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. Again, I'm a big Keyshawn fan, but this, no. I just think it's so wrong. I think it sends the wrong message out. These kids need to remember what they wanted from the sport. They wanted to win titles, to headline in your hometown, to main event, to make money, and you've just squandered all four of those things. I actually think it's a disgrace, and I don't know. I've not seen. I think I saw a statement of some sort from all three brothers, but it's not enough. It's not enough. If I'm Top Rank, if I'm his manager right now, I'm like, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, it's especially tough, especially for Keyshawn, because there was this thing with Abdul Mason, and now here's Mason shining in his hometown as the sort of impromptu main event. That had to have been a hard pill to swallow. But Top Rank is in a bit of a state of transition here. They're looking for a new home. They're looking for people that they can rely on, right? They're looking for people that they could say, like, we are going to promote you. We're going to send you to the moon. We're going to put you in big fights, in big venues. We're going to bring you home when it's appropriate. And Keyshawn has he's positioned himself as one of those guys. And, all of this happens. Nightmare.
Yeah, no.
In the penultimate show on ESPN for them, they've got one more, and this is the scene. You'll see Keyshawn. I believe he's in the where is he? I saw this like 5 times. You'll see him emerge here momentarily. I don't want to get the color of his shirt wrong. There he is in the hat. There he is.
Yeah.
And then you'll see a youngster right over there to the right, who I do believe is his son. Just not a great look.
I just, no. And, I look at Keyshawn as the leader of that pack as well. I mean, he's the name, right? I mean, he might not be the oldest. I'm not quite sure of that crew there, right? But I look at him as the senior in this pack. He's the one that's known. He's the world champion. He's the face. And I expect him just to kind of, just to behave better. Honestly, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, I remember when sort of Broner was coming through and it was Javante, it was the Charlos, Errol Spence, and I used to kind of look at them and think, what are they doing? And I think even Errol recounts some of that and says, I wish I sort of, was a bit better behaved coming up. And I expect the young fighters to listen to that and think, okay, look, Errol was like regretting so much of what we did. And I see Keyshawn, who's been given a headline spot. I mean, ain't that what you dream about?
Yeah.
Headline spot, title defense. They give you Edwin De Los Santos, which is basically a gift. Edwin hasn't done anything since he lost to Shakur. He's been out of the ring for a year. So they're giving you someone that you could really bowl over, and you can't even make weight. Honestly, it's embarrassing. And, he should look at Terence Crawford. I mean, they got the same trainer. He should look at Terence Crawford and think, that's professionalism. Like, do I not need to learn from that? Do I not need to learn from Shakur Stevenson, who makes weight? I don't know, man.
Ade, some 25 or so years ago, there was a time where Japan was the epicenter of all things combat sports, especially as it pertains to mixed martial arts. I mean, on New Year's Eve, they would get 50, 60, 70 million people watching these big Pride and K1 kickboxing shows. And now they are enjoying a beautiful period in boxing, and you have Naoya Inoue leading the pack, but you have Junto Nakatani winning once again this past weekend, potentially setting up this mega fight, a collision course, if you will, next year in Japan. This, to me, if they do it right, you do it on a New Year's Eve. That traditionally was always a big a big evening, no matter the date, for Japanese combat sports, but it doesn't really matter. Two Japanese killers, two Japanese studs going toe-to-toe. Naoya was sitting in the front row in attendance. Nakatani picks up the big win, 7th round TKO via doctor stoppage. I would love to see this at the Tokyo Dome or at the Saitama Super Arena. And I know that Inoue is probably going to fight Akhmadaliev later on this year, but if he gets by that test, and I'm sure Eddie is banking on Akhmadaliev pulling off the upset, we could be getting an all-Japanese super fight at some point in 2026.
100%. I mean, Nakatani is special. And I think most people now, when they do their pound-for-pound rankings, finally, they've got Nakatani floating sort of like 9-10. So he's now entered most people's sort of thoughts as a really, really good fighter. Obviously, Inoue's been a sort of top 3 pound-for-pound now for about 5 years. This is it. We were talking Canelo Crawford. Eddie came on and said Fury AJ's the biggest fight ever. I'm telling you now, from an Asian standpoint, this is as big as both of them. Nakatani, 1 weight below. I mean, 118 to 122, what's that? That's just a trip to McDonald's. I mean, you can gain 4 pounds in a trip to McDonald's. Nakatani, go up. And I think even Inoue, ringside, said, welcome to the super bantamweight division. Inoue is welcoming that fight. Inoue wants that fight. As you say, he's got Akhmadaliev, but we're talking, I don't know, Inoue fights like 3-4 times a year. I think we're looking at the super fight of all super fight, the biggest Asian fight of all time, early 2026, between two unbeaten killers. Assassins, these two. Fantastic fight.
Are we going to see Jai Opetaia versus Zurdo Ramirez? I asked Eddie about this. Well, like, I love watching Jai fight. I love watching him knock out people like we saw Sunday morning here in the United States. But I am a little tired of seeing him fight guys who appear to be lesser than him, right? They appear to be just a step below. That's the fight.
No. Several steps below,
okay,
Ariel.
So,
being kind.
Yeah. So why aren't we getting it? Here's the knockout from this past weekend. Why aren't we getting that fight? I know Zurdo has the fight on June 28th, but why do I feel like it's not going to happen next? Because
same.
To me, it has felt like it should have happened 3 fights ago for these two.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of even Zurdo fighting on this Jake Paul card and not fighting Jai Opetaia makes no sense. I mean, why are they not fighting each other? Is it a money thing? Are they both wanting crazy money? I mean, that could be an issue. Both of them have fought on these Riyadh season cards. We know the pay packet for the Riyadh season cards are a lot more. So are they waiting for Turkey to fund it? I'm not quite sure. If I'm Jai, I'm talking to my handlers and I'm saying, look, guys, if you can't get me Zurdo, I'm 29. Let me put on 20 pounds and go and mix it with the big boys.
Oh, yeah.
Jai's what, 6'1", 6'2"? I think Jai will, honestly, I can only count on my hand maybe 3 or 4 guys that I think could beat Jai at heavyweight. I think Jai could go up there and flatline a few of those heavyweights that I think they'll look like they're moving in quicksand. That's how fast Jai's feet and hand are. So if I'm Jai, I look at what Usyk's done. They're not too dissimilar in size. They're both southpaws, both very skilled. And think, you know what, I can go and mix it with the big boys, where the real money is and the real rewards are as well.
Honestly, Usyk says 2 fights left. For me, it's Dubois and him. I know it's not going to happen, but as far as the most interesting fights out there for him, it's probably Dubois and him. Now, and I say that...
I think the super... Remember I said this last year? Last show. I said the super fight, of all super fights coming, is Jai versus Moses Italma.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
What, 2-3 years? 2-3 years?
It's 2 years max. 2 years max. It's coming.
Something. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
I love that. I when I said the 2 fights, then I immediately regretted it because I don't want to be
Joseph Parker.
Yeah, I was like,
Yo,
can I add a third?
See, is this how you really think? Is this what you're really thinking?
No, I said it, and then I was like, and I think he just welcomed the new baby into this world. Joseph, I hope you're not listening. I meant to say Parker and Opetaia. Those are the 2 fights.
To be fair, Opetaia wouldn't fight Parker anyway.
Yeah, of
them
course.
Two wouldn't fight each other.
I meant the 2 fights for Usyk, Parker, and Opetaia.
Dubois.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. Ade, we do have to talk about some news that happened late last week. The great Vasily Lomachenko announcing his retirement. What about this? I mean, it seemed like it was sort of the worst kept secret. It kind of felt like it was something that was coming, but he did make it official. He said goodbye. One of the all-time greats, I would say, of the past, 10, 15 years, represented his country, Ukraine, on the biggest of stages. Did have a couple of high-profile fights in which, he lost some tough ones. I think a lot of people till this day still do believe that he beat Devin Haney or should have gotten the nod. But what are some of the memories that come to mind when you think of the great Loma, as they called him?
The first one that springs to mind immediately is 396-1. So this guy had 397 amateur fights, 397 and lost one. And that one he avenged, I think, 2 or 3 times. That record, and I tweeted about it, I put it all over my socials, records are there to be broken. I think it's fair to say that's never, ever been broken. Ever. Like, no one's even going to get close to that. Like that, it doesn't even make sense. If someone showed you that, you'd say, okay, I need to see record books and footage because I don't believe you. So to be that good as an amateur, and he actually turned pro at like 27, so it's not like he was old. So to have got those many fights in such a short space of time is incredible. Him fighting Salido in his second fight, I think, is mad. Fighting for a world title. Salido came in overweight. Loma was like, I don't care, let's still fight. Then he fought Gary Russell Jr. in the next fight, straight after losing to Salido. Gary Russell was unbeaten. And then, let's be honest, he's fighting outside of his weight class. Like, he really is a featherweight fighting at lightweight. Like, he should never be with these guys. These guys are coming from 170 pounds down to 135. And he was a guy that walked around at 147. So he never should be fighting these guys. But I think I remember watching Mayweather, thinking Mayweather has clocked the boxing game. Like, Mayweather sees things in slow motion and is just not even 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps ahead. Loma was the closest thing to Mayweather in terms of this guy has just found out what boxing is and is making it look easy. I thought he was so special. And his record in 30, 40 years' time isn't going to look good 18-3. But those of us that were very lucky to watch it live, I think we realized that we were watching something special.
Were you surprised that he walked away? 37.
No, I think he was talking about walking away prior to the Kambosos fight.
Yeah.
I think he's had shoulder surgery on both shoulders. I think it's the way he trains. I've been lucky enough to see him train, and he puts his body through it. So I just feel like maybe it's like enough elbow surgery, 2 shoulder surgeries. I think his country going to war as well. Maybe kind of fast track the decision. And maybe as well, and he won't want to admit this, I think he probably looks at those fights against Devin and Teo and thinks, if I was 25, you guys wouldn't even be able to hang with me. And the fact that those are tough fights and difficult fights where maybe he thought they were easy fights shows that these younger kids have caught up with him. So I'd rather see him go out like this than lose to people that wouldn't have laced his boots a decade ago.
I love the message from Alexander Usyk to his fellow countrymen. Thank you for your journey, your dedication, and your greatness. You are one of the greatest athletes the world of sport has ever seen, not just in boxing, in sport, period. Your amateur legacy is unmatched. 2 Olympic gold medals, nearly 400 wins, a master of movement, timing, and precision. And in the professional ring, you made history again, becoming a world champion in 3 divisions, doing what many thought was impossible, and doing it with style, class, and intelligence. You inspired millions. You changed the game. You set a new standard. I'm proud to call you my friend, my teammate, my brother. Your legacy will live on for many, many years in the hearts of fighters, in the minds of fans, in the history books of boxing. Congratulations on a legendary career. Beautiful stuff.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You know, I thought, completely. I thought Loma would have been what Usyk is now. So in terms of Usyk being pound for pound number 1, 2-weight undisputed, if you would have told me at the time of that London Olympics where they both thought that one of these guys is going to have those accolades, I would have said, Loma 100%. And then I thought about it and I was like, Loma was obviously a champion at feather, a champion at super feather, and then obviously a champion at lightweight. He could have easily become undisputed in both feather and super feather, but decided to chase the weights quickly to get the challenges. He could have stayed along in those 2 weight classes and become undisputed in both, but said, you know what, no, let me go and really challenge myself and go up to lightweight, which ultimately was probably his undoing. But he really could have done double undisputed, maybe even 3-time undisputed if he really wanted to.
Yeah, I got to see him just once live back in May of 2018 at Madison Square Garden. the actual Madison Square Garden against Jorge Linares. He headlined that card right at the beginning of the Top Rank ESPN deal, and just a great win for him. He won the WBA and the Ring Super lightweight titles, and just I thought like the movement, the speed, the aura, as the kids say, he had it all. He really did. So happy trails to the great Vasily Lomachenko, who I suspect at some point will get his rightful spot in the Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota, New York at some point down the line. A first balloter, if you would ask me, right? I mean, that guy is going in 100%. I don't know exactly how they do it because Manny Pacquiao just went into the Hall of Fame, and it seemed like he should have gone in a long time ago, but perhaps they do this. Do they do the same thing with the 4 years like they do in the major sports here? Do they have to? You have to wait the 4 years?
They do, but it's weird with Manny Pacquiao because he's now come back.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, 1 second, what do we do? Do we pause this?
Nah, you don't pause it.
I don't understand.
There's no rules for this sort of thing. Amanda Nunes is going into the Hall of Fame, and she's coming back as well. It's a weird thing. But yes, there is Freddie Roach and the great Manny Pacquiao getting their moment in the sun. Vinny Paz as well. By the way, have you ever been to the Boxing Hall of Fame?
I haven't. No, I haven't. It is something I do want to go to. There's a couple of things I want to go to, the Hall of Fame, and I want to go to like the WBC convention as well. I find those things fascinating. So they're on my bucket list of things to do in this crazy sport that I love.
We should take a road trip. It's
but I'd love to.
Upstate New York.
Do you see my smile? I'd love to.
I would tell you, I love a nice Hall of Fame. Have you been? Hall of Fames aren't really that big over in the UK, right? They're not really like. Is there a Premier League Hall of Fame?
They've just started it. Well, I said they've just started it. It's been going for like 4 years, but no one's interested. No, honestly, no one's interested.
Like, do people get inducted? I don't even hear about this.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah.
London?
They do like a little. No, sometimes it's just announced. Like the way I see it, I've seen like they did like the first 3 guys, and then the rest have just been announced. So there was like a big sort of do for the first 3, and then it's just a case of you've been inducted into Hall of Fame.
Okay.
There's no big thing about it. It's really bad.
At all? Like I've never heard anything. Is there a cricket Hall of Fame?
I have no idea. You're moving on to sports that I
is there
care
a darts
very
Hall
little
of Fame?
Absolutely no. Nope.
Who's the guy?
That is kind of strange, isn't it? What, Phil Taylor for darts?
Oh yeah, Phil Taylor. He should be in there.
Phil Taylor. Ballot. Oh, 100%.
And Snooker, who's the snooker guy that they always talk about?
Ronnie O'Sullivan, Steve Davis, Stephen Henry.
Oh, so you know your snooker, huh?
Oh, snooker, I do know. My dad loves snooker, so I followed snooker from a young age, yeah.
Shout out to Ronnie O'Sullivan. There's a great documentary about him, right?
There is on Amazon Prime, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, Ade, time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time for our parting shots. So many to choose from this week, right? I mean, so many to choose from.
Oh my God, dude.
What?
Dude.
What?
I saw one on some bare knuckle thing. Is it that? I saw one on bare knuckle, and it was the guy was out.
You always
and he
pick
could have been
bare
out for about a
knuckle.
minute.
You always pick bare knuckle.
No, it has to be. I'd be shocked if it isn't. Go on, I bet it is. Go and play it.
Well,
it is.
Freaking Justice Hooney. How does Justice Hooney not get it?
No, it's not that.
It's not Justice Hooney.
This bare knuckle one's crazy.
It's not Nakatani.
I know you got it. No,
it's not Nakatani.
No, it ain't Nakatani. Go and play it.
Jai Opetaia.
No. Nonsense.
Come on. There were a ton of big fights. A ton of big knockouts. No, you're right.
No.
It's none of those. You are 100% right, because when you have a great scene like the scene that we had this weekend, when you have some of the greatest fighters in the world coming together, converging, you have to honor one of them. And so I thought it would be apropos for our parting shot to go back to Canastota, New York, and pay homage to one of the greatest of all time. Yes, you know who I'm talking about, right? Christy Martin sitting next to Sydney Sweeney at the parade. This is big stuff. Look at Sydney Sweeney in the mix there.
Who is this?
Sydney Sweeney, the Hollywood actress. She's playing Christy Martin in a.
What is this? This is a joke. What's going on right now?
Look at they're parting. This is their part. They're giving the royal wave. You know Sydney Sweeney, right?
Yeah, but why did they do this thing, by the way? Did you see Act do this? Did you see Act do this?
Nah, stop it with that.
Dude, please. If someone can quickly find Act.
Come on.
Act was in a car like this. He was in the parade and he was waving to people.
Stop it.
I'm like, Act, who are you waving to? Who are you waving to?
He was doing the royal wave?
He was doing this to everyone.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what's he doing? What's he doing? I don't know.
You know who Sydney Sweeney is though, right?
No, I've never. Is she an actress? Never heard of her.
She's a huge Hollywood superstar. Everyone loves her.
So what? She is going to play Christy Martin?
She's playing Christy Martin in her upcoming film, the biopic. You've not seen this? This is big news.
Give me a film that this Miss Sydney Sweeney's been in. Give me a film.
Guys, can you help me out back there? Euphoria.
God, no. Anything else? She's that famous? Anything else?
No, she's like legit supremely famous.
Never heard of her in my life.
Madam Web. Reality?
Yeah, stop it. Back.
Guys.
Whoever's in telling you this stuff.
Guys, is Sydney Sweeney not that famous? Titanic?
It must have been, what, 1 when she was in Titanic? What are you talking about, Titanic?
She was one of the kids trying to get off the boat.
Oh, really? Yeah, nonsense. Rubbish.
No, what, by the way, why do I see so much about Sydney Sweeney? Is she actually not that famous?
I've never heard of her in my life.
Okay, she's famous.
So she was waving and no one knew who that was.
No, that was a big deal. It was a big deal. They were like, oh my God,
cool.
Sydney Sweeney's in town. Let's see.
Cool.
But by the way, not for nothing, Sydney Sweeney, according to this, 25.2 million followers on Instagram. I'd say that's pretty famous.
Wow. That's famous. No, that's famous. I take it back. That's very famous.
Also, her middle name is Bernice.
Okay, cool. That's interesting that they're doing a biopic on Chrissy Martin, though. I think that's quite cool.
It's a great time for women's boxers with the big fight coming up July 11th here in New York. You going to that one? Because I know you're going to be in New York.
I am. I'm in town, dude. I'm in town. I'm trying to go to all of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go to the Edgar Berlanga
July
Hamster Shirt.
12th, July 19th.
I'm trying to do that as well. And then the final, I'm trying to do everything. And obviously, Ade and Ariel. Oh, sorry, Ariel and Ade. I keep doing that.
This fucking guy. Whoops. Apologies for the language. All right, it's time to go. Can we believe that? Thank you very much to Eddie Hearn for stopping by. Much love and respect. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Hey, big one at the theater this weekend. And I also want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Glory Kickboxing, celebrating their 100th event in Amsterdam this weekend. And they've got
Todd Grisham's there. Todd Grisham
is there. Look at this lineup right here. The great Rico Verhoeven headlining. Look at that lineup. They were going to do it a 2-day event, and they decided to do it one. It's Rico Verhoeven against Artem Vakitov, who has a win, by the way, over Alex Pereira in kickboxing. He was talking about signing with the UFC, said, nah, I'm going to headline Glory 100. That too is available right here on DAZN, in addition to the Richardson Hitchens George Kambosos Jr. fight going down at the theater at Madison Square Garden, right here in the greatest city in the world, New York City.
Good poster.
Yeah, I like it. I love that. I love that ceiling at the theater with the lights.
It makes it look like it's really low, though.
Yeah, it's iconic though. I love it. You know exactly where the fight is being held when you see that ceiling. Great stuff, Ade. Appreciate it very much. Safe travels to the 305. Enjoy all the fights. Good luck with the Club World Cup. We'll talk next week. Take care.